And you have not been able to hear a word I've been saying until now. But as I was trying to say, it looks like early on that Patty Pansing-Brooks, the Democrat, is in the lead. That is expected. These are the mail-in ballots that are reporting right now. It is very will hold. Really, if you are prognosticating this race, what you are probably looking at is you are looking at really the amount that how much will Mike Flood win by is your most likely outcome here. Because in all reality, this is what is called an R plus 17 district, and so it has heavily favored towards Republicans. It would be a bit of a shock, quite frankly, if we were to see anything other than a win for Mike Flood. But the margin of victory is what matters here. And so, like I said, apparently while I was muted, is that I am doing this more of a test. People have asked me in the past, what is it that you go through on election night? Because, and this may sound very, but a lot of times I have been told to know a lot of what's going on, and it's not really that I know a lot of what's going on. It's really just a situation. Look, and so I'm sharing places where to look, and so right now these are the initial results. And so if you were just watching from the outside, you might be like, "Oh, holy crap! This seems, quite the shock. Seems like it might be an upset brewing." There is not an upset brewing. This is what we should expect to happen, because these are just the mail-in votes. These are not people who voted today. I would expect those votes who came in today to be much more Republican. And so we'll see as the time goes on, as more votes come in from the more conservative in-person voting, or at least in-person voting tends to be more conservative. We'll see what happens. But this lead for Patty Pansing-Brooks right now in the mail-in ballots is probably about where you would have expected her to be, which is not good for her. If you are, for some reason, hoping that she will come out with the victory, that is extremely unlikely. Instead, what you're looking at right now, Patty Pansing-Brooks, she is probably on track for a typical Democrat. Although, we say typical Democrat, this is the first time that this seat this is the first one since redistricting. She kind of gets a jump on this, the first Nebraskan under these new lines because of Jeff Fortenberry's indictment and today, or not indictment, but conviction and today's sentencing in his what more or less amounts to a bribery scandal. And so what we are looking at right now is basically where we stand. And I'm trying to see, I apologize, I'm trying to see if I can get any sense for you where any comparison points of where the race stands. Maybe some other ways to look at it other than staring at right here. That is all the information I have currently. Just to give you a sense, I will actually switch over here to a different tab just to show you. So again, how I mentioned the first district over here. We'll zoom in a little bit. The first district over here, embodying Lincoln, Norfolk, lots of Bellevue, Papillion. You'll notice lots of Lancaster County, parts of Sarpy County, into Seward County. Columbus in that area is rated as R plus 17. So what that means is that on average, it votes about 17 points to the right of the nation. And so to give you maybe a comparison point on that, I will switch over and have you take a look. Bear with me. So courtesy of Decision Desk HQ, you can see over here, on the left-hand side, this is the last election that was held in this district. Now, granted, with different barriers, and honestly, actually, it was more Republican in the previous drawing. But Fortenberry, you see, won 59-37 against Kate Bowles, who is considered to be somewhat of a moderate Democrat, but kind of a pretty easy victory. You can see here, just doing a rough math, it's about a 22-point victory. And that, that would actually be more than the 17 that I mentioned earlier. And so let's compare that just for the sake of argument. Let's take a look about what the old party lean was. So we can see the current lean is 17. It's under the old map, so these are the old boundaries. The old lean was about 21. And so Ford is just about right for what the lean was, but under the new map, so if things fall in line as they did in 2020, we would expect for Mike Flood to win by about 17 percentage points. By the way, early in the race, in November of 2020. Kate Boltz did take the early lead, just like Patty Pansing-Brooks did today. And so it's not, again, nothing to really get excited about, nothing to really view as being anything particularly amazing. This was to be expected that she would take the early lead. That just means things are normal. We'll hit the refresh page again. Nothing has really changed. To break it down on the county level results, we can see that in Butler County, so you can see small amounts of mail-in votes. So these are just all the mail-in votes coming in. Cumming County, these are small vote totals. Cass County has a lot more. You can see a more evenly divided, but advantage to Mike Flood here. Lancaster County, this was the one where you could expect a large margin in her favor, and you see it here, a 62% to 37% lead for Patty Pansing-Brooks. She's from Lincoln. She's represented Lincoln. It's not fully reporting, which might be good news for her, but I doubt that the lead will get much bigger than that. Madison County, which is where Mike Flood is from. He's from Norfolk. He carries the big lead there, but in the early voting. But you see, maybe Sarpy County, you've got Sarpy County, actually, and the early voting is leaning Democratic. Seward County is about 50-50. That Sarpy County number may be a little shocking, but again, I expect Sarpy County will, by the end of the night, will go back to red. And so we will see what happens at that point. And so what are the implications of this? What does this all matter? So in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't matter a ton as far as the balance of power in the House. What's to be seen is how does Mike Flood and how do Patty Pansing-Brooks lean? If Patty Pansing-Brooks were to be elected, it could have implications in Nebraska as far as abortion laws. The governor, Pete Ricketts, as well as Mike Hilgers, the Speaker of the legislature, have announced they will probably, they're still consulting, but probably have a special session. And so we do indeed have that special session. Right now, Democrats have the votes to properly filibuster. If Patty Pansing-Brooks were to win, she is a state senator. Her seat would be filled by Ricketts, the Republican, and so he would very likely, 100% likely, fill it with a pro-life candidate. And so, yeah, that would be in the unlikely situation that Patty Pansing-Brooks were to win. Mike Flood is also a state senator, and if he were to win, he were to be filled, but that would be a like for like because Mike Flood is a conservative Republican. So not a whole lot would change if Mike Flood were to win. This is also probably going to be close because there are no incumbents. And so that's the other reason that makes this interesting. Special elections also tend to be low turnout, which makes them a little wonky. As far as where special elections have been going so far, special elections have been a little bit of a wash, which suggests perhaps a neutral or say Republican-leaning environment, which is probably not surprising for any who've been paying attention. It is a midterm, and Joe Biden is a Democrat and is president. And so it is very likely that this is a Republican-friendly environment. But it is interesting to see how this first district will go. This first district, like I said, has been more Democratic. Lancaster County has been pushing more Democratic in particular. That's going to be one that anchors this district, although there's plenty of population outside of the city, Norfolk, Seward, to mind, as well as Columbus and parts of Sarpy County and Cass County. And so, and Fremont, Dodge County. And so there is a lot to this district. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's slightly moving to the left, but not very fast, certainly not fast. It's supposed to be a competitive district. And from the sources I am consulting, right now, we don't see anything that shows, from my source, nothing so far that shows that this is going anything other than predicted. I will tell you my sources of information for this tend to be on Twitter. I tend to follow David Wasserman. Dave Wasserman is a writer for the Cook Political Report. He has excellent work. He does great work with redistricting, but nothing in from Dave Wasserman. One thing I will try to do is when we have a known winner, I will try to make sure to play this little clip. Beautiful. And then it'll show either for Patty Pansing-Brooks or Mike Flood as far as who has won this election. We will do another quick check. So we do have a few more precincts reporting. I think a slight chunk has been taken off of Patty Pansing-Brooks' lead there. If I want to find another site, see if we can find out where some of these are coming in. Maybe we'll consult. Try to find some sources here. So far, nothing that gives me the detailed results that I am looking for. Yeah, so it doesn't seem, I don't seem to be able to find, it shows me the details of what exactly is happening. But yeah, I will put it up on the ticker here, I guess. So I'm going to try to. All right. And supposedly I have a ticker saying things, so we'll see if there's any truth to that. I don't think so. So yeah, I will continue to search. While I am searching, just so that you don't have to listen to complete silence, we'll have some background music going, and I'll keep updating the Secretary of State election results. But I'll see if I can find something better that shows us what precincts are reporting. All right, I do believe I have a much better one to look at here. We're going to go ahead. We're going to try to show I got to find it first, even though we definitely have it. So I feel like this is a much better showing over here. It's kind of showing where so we see over here, this is from the New York Times, by the way. They have, so same numbers that we've had before, Patty Pansing-Brooks currently in the lead. But again, we expect these, so 36% in, be largely mail-in votes. What I like the New York Times does over here on the right is where we believe there's a lot of the votes left. So you can see over here, so let's take a look at the size of the lead. Madison County is where Mike Flood is going to run up the score, and he should. Both Republican territory, it's where he's from, he's going to run up the score there. Stanton County, again, likewise, working up in that area. Dodge County is, but again, these are mail-in ballots. What do you take out of it? Not a whole lot. The Stark County one going blue is perhaps a little bit surprising, but we'll see if there's any change throughout the night. Again, there's estimated to be about 11,000 votes left there. We know that Lancaster County will not report any more votes for about another hour, so do not expect much change there for a while. Stewart County is, I guess, in my view, surprisingly close. We expect about 2,700 votes left there. So, I mean, we're basically right now just waiting for votes, especially from the most rural areas. Especially these are election day votes, and election day votes skew Republican. And so we will see nothing right now has changed my mind about where we are. Mike Flood is still very much on track. But we are really just waiting to see. We're waiting to see the other ones come in. We're waiting to see some of the day of voting to see where Mike Flood stands, and Patty Pansing-Brooks where they stand right now. There are, as some of you may be aware right now around the country, there are other going on. Most of the interesting ones are on the Republican side, although the New York governor's race is currently happening. I won't talk a whole lot about those, just unless for whatever reason they happen to be impacting what happens in Nebraska. As far as the elections in Nebraska go, this race. So what's its bearing going to be on the potential of the Nebraska legislature? And so what I will do really quickly. So again, just one last check. We just have a slight update there, which does look like we have now gotten some votes in. More just some partial reporting. And actually, the Secretary of State's office is reporting that there are no more full precincts. That was a typo before. So Mike Flood has gained just a little bit as more of the precincts trickle in. I'll try to see if I can find. Yeah, it's just so hard to figure out, where those votes are. But one thing I want to point out: why is it that with Pansing-Brooks early, 4,600 vote lead, why am I undervaluing her so much? In Madison County, there's estimated to be 7,800 remaining votes. Right now, Flood is winning by 78%. Stanton County does not have a lot of votes yet, but really by Madison County. Now, some of you point out there's 35,000 votes left out in Lancaster County. Election day votes. Patty Pansing-Brooks must win Lancaster County if she wants to have a prayer. Even Kate Bowles did not win Lancaster County. She must win that if she wants to have a prayer. But there's a long way to go, and Lancaster County will not drop, like I said, 9:15. We expect a large batch of them to drop, and then The Lancaster County Election Commissioner's Office has told us that at 10:15 is when they will do their other big drop. And so anyway, I wanted to talk to you about what impact would this potentially have, especially on, say, the Nebraska legislature. And so when we take a look at where things stand in the legislature right now, so we sit with a Republican majority. 32 of the Nebraska legislature seats are currently held by Republicans. 17 of them are held by Democrats, and that may sound bad news for Democrats, but it's actually just enough to, on their own, if they were to work together, to have the filibuster to basically prevent the Republican majority from enacting things at will, which is part of what has allowed them to prevent, massive changes to abortion law, things of that nature. And so heading into our upcoming election, previewing November a little bit here just while we have time, we have 25 seats that will be up. There are 49 total seats in the legislature. 25 seats that'll be up, 14 Republican, 10 Democrat, including a special election where Senator Rich Pauls passed away and his seat needs to be taken care of. Based on who won primaries and which elections are actually competitive, we currently rate 8 elections as being competitive, involving a Republican and a Democrat. And so where that keeps things is Democrats must win 4, Republicans must win 5 to filibuster. Democrats need to only win 4 to maintain the filibuster, but there is a Republican edge with the primary elections, which is tough to say. How much does the primary election win the governor's race on the Republican side is the only one that'll care about. How much does it actually matter? And so it's kind of been that tricky thing of how much do you actually pay attention to a race like that. Once again, I'm going to check in with the Secretary of State's office here, and we'll just refresh the page. Again, nothing has really changed. Patty Penzing-Brooks remains at 55, essentially a 55-45 split with Mike Flood, but again, those are almost entirely mail-in ballots. Not a whole lot to be taken from that. Switching over to, so there has been a bit of an update from the New York Times reporting. My guess is just some more rural counties, and it does appear that Colfax County has trickled in some results. So in Colfax County, we've got about probably somewhere around 600 votes yet to be counted out there. Parts of Polk County is not entirely in the district. Neither is most of Platte County is, but not all of it. So we still got a few votes out there. I'll just take down to you over here. You can see how it all breaks out. So we have not heard it all from Butler County. We have not heard it all from Platte County. There's about a good 7,350 votes still remaining out there. These are, most of these, as you can see, are Republican territory. Even Sarpy County is in general Republican territory. And so, you're looking at the margins tonight. You are not expecting this to go Patty Penzing-Brooks' way. You'd be shocked if it went anywhere in her direction. And so what you're looking for is, can she do better than, can she do better than Kate Bolts did? If the district is rated R plus 17, can she be partisan lean? Maybe show that Democratic, because right now it's looking bad for Democrats in the upcoming House elections. Can she break the norm? Can she do better than the lean of the district? That's kind of where things at the moment. For right now, though, what we're going to do is we're going to take just a little break while we wait for some results to come in, but I will keep the New York Times page live. You're watching our kind of test run of Nebraska elections. All right, so we are back, and you can see nothing has really changed much of the race. We're still at 36% reporting. Looks like we've got a tiny little bit, maybe a Polk County there that's kind of just sneaking in. But in general, we have not changed a whole lot as far as where the race is. Just so you are aware, as far as what I am following now. So I've had nothing from Dave Wasserman, which again tells me that everything is probably on track for Mike Flood right now. I am currently also keeping Twitter pages open for Omaha World Herald folks, Aaron Bamer, who is reporting from the Mike Flood election night party, and then also from Martha Stoddard, who is the state government reporter for the Omaha World Herald. Neither of them really giving us anything too much. Again, all we're seeing, so Bamer has basically told us, and I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, Aaron, basically saying that they're not too worried about the results, which they really shouldn't be. And Stoddard is just saying that the early results favor Patty Pansing-Brooks, which is correct. And as we would have expected, it would have been a very, honestly, bad night for Patty Pansing-Brooks had she not been leading at this point. So where things stand right now is, again, just kind of where we left off before we went to the break, is really we're just waiting for some more results to come in. Rural counties do tend to count a lot faster than the more populous ones do. Excuse me. However, as we did mention before, Lancaster County has announced the specific times when they will blast out, like when ballots will drop, which is actually incredibly helpful, especially in light of recent attacks, typically from more extreme conservative circles, about the election integrity and stuff like that. Announcing those sort of things, I think, does well. Keeping the public more informed more often than not does well, and helping us whether or not if the election is going the way it should be. If there's nothing bizarre going on. Another one that we are currently following, just so you are, is we also are following Paul Hamill, who was for a long time at the Omaha World Herald, now for the Nebraska Examiner. Currently following him, he is basically saying everything I'm telling you right now. Right now, early days. That Sarpy County result right now is probably the one that is most surprising me. The fact that we are seeing in Sarpy County that, basically that Patty Pansing-Brooks leads and has won or is not won, but leads the mail-in ballots. I honestly am quite impressed with that. But again, it's early days. There's not a whole lot you can take from where we stand right now. No precincts are even fully reporting. Currently, where we stand is you can see from the New York Times one ahead of me is we're at 36%, and all of those are partials. All of those are mail-in. Almost all of them are mail-in ballots. We really don't have a lot of information coming from the rural vote, especially. That's where we need just a lot more information. We need to see those rural votes, and to see what the turnout's like. Even people with the flood side of the aisle, in particular, Senator Joni Albrecht, is reported tonight to have said that she expects low that comes courtesy of Aaron Bamer, and so, that's what makes special elections so wonky. With such low voter turnout, which votes turn out? And does the Supreme Court's decision on Roe v. Wade, overturning it, does that skew the election day turnout? Do more Democrats show up on election day? Probably not in the rural counties. The rural counties are going to go in Mike Flood's favor. That's just a given. But in Lancaster County, does Patty Pansing-Brooks run up some sort of margin there? In Sarpy County, does she Democrats have not won Sarpy County on these levels. Does she limit her damage in Sarpy County? What is her end? What's the end of this going to be like? Again, it would be quite the shock to really see her winning in any way. Even to see this end up close would be a complete shock. But where we stand right now is basically in this early waiting game. It's 8:39 Central Time. We stand basically in a wait and see moment, just trying to find out what exactly is it? What kind of night are we in for? Are we in for a quick and easy victory for Mike Flood, or are we in for something a little bit more surprising? And I would be lying to say I'm a complete neutral, but the person in me, the gamesmanship person in me, would like for something a little bit more, something more than just a blowout, something that gives us, gives us something interesting here in Nebraska, where we currently stand. Again, checking through all the disses, all we really have so far from Pansing-Brooks, just spokesman for the campaign. This is from Paul Hamill of the Nebraska Examiner, said that funding engagement on social media shot up after last week's Supreme Court decision on abortion. Right now, the candidate's family is addressing the crowd at the headquarters for Pansing-Brooks. That is currently where things stand right now, as we are looking into all of this again. Currently, where things stand, Patty Pansing-Brooks in the lead, but what kind of lead is it, and will it last? These are basically the questions we're sitting at right now, just waiting for land. No real new information present time coming in, but it will. Nebraska is honestly really good at running elections. It would be quite a shock, quite frankly, if this dragged on any longer than you really would expect. Just check. Right now, we're just waiting to see where things stand. So the current vote totals and the Secretary of State's office. I'm just gonna refresh their page real quickly. The Secretary of State's office is lining up. Yep, it's exactly lining up with what the New York Times has. And so we are just currently waiting on. The votes are in. We're just waiting for the counties to process them. We have a long way to go. My guess is that before too long, we will see a flood of, forgive my pun for the candidate there, but we will see a flood of information come up that will really just kind of show. And let me see if I can get a better angle. You don't want, none of you want that. This might be a little better. But just to see if we can get some information about. My guess is we will see a flood of information. We'll see some new information come in that will really help clarify where things stand. But so far, we're just sitting waiting on information. Nothing really from the campaigns, other than the usual hurrahs where they are encouraging each other. Nothing yet as far as information that would give us any wisdom or insights into what is exactly happening on the ground. Anything that would show us that the race has anything more significant going on. Just keeping one eye on the different things that are happening currently. Speaker of the House, Speaker of the Legislature, Senator Mike Hilgers is speaking over at Mike Flood's victory party, a celebration party. I've been told that there are no results posted up on the board yet. All they have is just logos and signs. And meanwhile, we do also have images over at the headquarters of Patty Pansing Brooks. Yeah, it looks like right now over on the Republican side, we're just kind of seeing a slew of different Republican candidates up there. Current gubernatorial candidate for the Republican Party, Jim Pillen, is currently up. So yeah, I think are kind of in the similar point that we are. Nobody has any special information yet. We are all patiently waiting for the results to come in. Paul Hamill is just so Paul Hamill's reporting has just informed that Patty Pansing Brooks arrived about 5 minutes ago at her own party. That's the situation that's going on there. They are currently at a party at a Haymarket bar in downtown Lincoln, which is appropriate since, of course, she is from Lincoln. That is her home. That is what she represents in the state legislature. And her very solidly blue seat. Looking up ahead to, because there might be some question of the legislature, going forward in the 2022, the normal elections of their seats. They are currently are reliable for their party. Mike Flood represents mostly Madison and Stanton counties. Patty Pansing a portion of Lincoln that is reliably blue, and so they both represent safe seats. For Mike Flood, he is currently in the middle of his term. He would need someone to fill out the rest of his term. Patty Pansing Brooks, if she, just on the hypothetical situation, say she were to lose today and win in November, she would not need someone to replace her. If you're that's the game you would rather be playing, probably not. It's tricky to know from a Democratic perspective what's your better outcome. Because if you win tonight, you do hand the seat over to Governor Ricketts, who will certainly pick a Republican, somebody who will try to strike down Nebraska's current 20-week window of opportunity for abortion, which viability used to be the window for abortion, and now, of course, it's anybody's game. After the ruling that abortion is not a right to privacy, is not a constitutional right, and so it'll just be interesting. Whereas if Mike Flood were to get elected, that again would be a like for like. Not a whole lot would change in the dynamics of where things stand in our political world here in Nebraska. But currently, as things stand, as far as this election, we have not had very many changes yet. So far, we are currently sitting at 36% reporting. The vast majority of these are mail-in ballots. A handful of them, very small handful in person, waiting on a lot of rural counties to report. It is taking them quite a while to report, but they will get there. These people are well versed in the field. Nebraska, as much as you may may be disappointed in how some things go in Nebraska, you should not be disappointed about how the elections are run. They are run incredibly well. And so, that, that is something you can hold your head up on. Elections here are run very well. And we will get the reporting in, and they do a good job of getting them in fairly quickly. As far as tonight's coverage goes, just so you know, once there is a projection, likely we will sign off, just because I like to do other things, with our time. We do have an update. We will see if the New York Times updates as well here pretty quickly, but the Secretary of State's office just reporting a new batch of ballots in. That margin has now dropped under 4,000 votes. And so the New York Times does not have that information yet. The Secretary of State's office currently reporting for Patty Pansing-Brooks at about 54.1%. Mike Flood is currently sitting at 45.89%. So it's ticking up. I mean, he currently basically sits at about 46%. She sits at about 54%. That's basically what you should expect to happen. I would love to see when this map updates for the New York Times. I would love to see. Oh, here we go. And so we've had about a 1% change. It looks like we've had some Platte County votes come in. Colfax County is now in there, and so we've had some votes come in. Let's take a look at the size of the lead. You can see just that overwhelming lead right now is enough for her. And Sarpy County is still holding, but are we waiting on votes there? Quite a few votes still left out in Sarpy County. It's not all of Sarpy County. But right now, nothing again, if you are Mike Flood, to suggest that this race is going, I don't know, anywhere where you would not expect it to go. This race is probably right. It's probably right where you'd see it. And I am realizing that apparently the quality that is coming in of the stream is not exactly getting all the beauty of the New York Times thing that I am seeing here. And so I apologize in advance for that, for you 0 people who are watching. But again, we're getting slightly more information in. We're now sitting at 38% reporting. And we have Patty Pansing-Brooks with the lead. It's not anywhere near a strong lead. And right now it really doesn't seem to be indicating anything. It's going right about in line of where we would expect things to be. Let's see if 1011 has gotten updated. Nope, 1011 is not even updated to where we are at. And so we are ahead of the game, but that's okay. But yeah, right now we are sitting with Patty Pansing-Brooks in the lead. Still just waiting to see. Interestingly enough, Politico is reporting that they have more information than we do. And that's because there was a change. And let's see if we've got a change over the New York Times. And we do. All right. So we've got some more votes that have dropped. And it looks like they were a lot of them in Sarpy County, where it has now flipped. And now we see that it is Mike Flood who leads in Sarpy County. And we've got some of that election day vote coming in, 42% now reporting. Patty Pansing-Brooks' lead is now down to just 53-47. Just about a lead of about 2,500 votes. Again, nothing so far is terribly surprising. That's a good chunk of Sarpy County's votes in, though. And it's fairly competitive in Sarpy County, which is somewhat where Democrats have gone, is they've made it competitive, but not really been able to crack Sarpy County. Lancaster County is a big lead, but again, we are expecting for Lancaster County a big drop of votes. We're sitting in about 25 minutes from another big drop from Lancaster County. It will probably cut Patty's lead, but we will see. She marketed herself on having her appeal. It would be interesting to see if there is truth to that. Does she really have cross-party lead? I don't know. Right now, where things are, we are still sitting in a what I would think would be a very strong position for State Senator Flood, former Speaker of the legislature. Yes, yeah, we are, and Paul Hamill from the Nebraska Examiner again saying that most of the votes right now are from Lancaster County, where again you expect where you expect her to do well. Jim Pillen, the gubernatorial candidate, saying right now that there are no votes coming in from Platte County. We don't like the score, but it's still early in the game. Yeah, we are still waiting on more votes to come in. 1011, by the way, has now updated themselves to where we are now, and so they are in that same situation we are. And so we are taking a look at these votes. We are seeing the gap closing, but you can see right now that margin in Lancaster County, which is by far the biggest county. Look at all those votes in Lancaster County. 62% right now for Pansing-Brooks. And there will be another vote dump at 9:15, I believe. I will double check on the Lancaster County election commissioner, Mr. Dave Shively, and see what his timeline was. Yes, at 9:15 is when we anticipate the first set of election results. 10:15 is the second slate of them, and then 11:15 necessary for the third slate. That would seem unlikely. 42% of the turnout was reported, but you never know. Right now, the statistics are looking at something about, so that was 30,000. So the voter turnout was around 15%. Make sure I'm reading these right. Or maybe 15% was purely from the early voting. Yeah, nothing listed as election day. So nothing really to say as far as election day voting in Lancaster County. But like I said, we're waiting for about 20 minutes. At 9:15, we will get more information on that. We're going to check once again the Secretary of State's website. I'm still saying what we expected before. Nothing too new as far as our information. We'll check back in again on all the different Twitter sources. But right now, as things stand, you are looking at currently Patty Pansing-Brooks, the Democrat, is in the lead, but these are almost entirely mail-in ballots. Her lead in Lancaster County is what is guiding this, although in Sarpy County there is a fair amount of election day votes. Sarpy County currently sitting at 60% estimated are in. The rural areas are breaking for Mike Flood. Lancaster County, home of Lincoln, the most urban of these, is breaking for Patty Pansing-Brooks right now. We've gone about an hour in. We have no call in the race, as we should. There's a lot of information still out there. We are still waiting, trying to see if we can have more information about these votes. We will take a little bit of a break here, come back on around 9 o'clock and reassess where we are. But you are watching this trial run of Nebraska Elects, primarily focused on the Congressional District Number 1 election results. It is now 9 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone, 9:01 to be exact. And so let's get you up to speed for where we are at, and I'm going to try to do this a little bit better. But yeah, let's get you up to speed for where we are at currently. My name is Jordan Martin, and we are going to get to where exactly things stand on this election night. So this is the Congressional District Number 1 special election night. So where is it that things currently stand? So what we know at the current hour, with 42% of the vote in, but primarily, this is just the key thing when we talk about this. This is primarily mail-in ballot voting. We see that Patty Pansing Brooks has a 52.7% to 47.3% lead, less than 3,000 vote lead. There are plenty of votes still out there. In fact, if you want to take a look at where the votes are still out there, even you can see them over here on the right-hand side. You can see that just in Butler County itself, there are 1,350 votes. Lancaster County, as we have been saying, in about 13 minutes, we'll drop some more results. Sarpy County is mostly in. Madison County, though, 7,800 votes still out there. That's going to go heavily for Mike Flood. And so for those of you who have any sort of hope of an upset tonight, that's probably going to be the one that puts the knife in it when Madison County shows up, or if Lancaster County doesn't hold on to these kind of margins for Patty Pansing Brooks, which they almost certainly won't, because none of those are election day votes. But we will see. There's a reason that we count the votes, because we actually have to see who wins. But right now, where things currently stand, you would prefer to be in Mike Flood's shoes. You would prefer to be barely down with all of these results that are currently in. And again, the question really tonight for Patty Pansing Brooks isn't really so much about whether or not she can win. Really, the bigger issue tonight is if she doesn't win, which is frankly likely, what are the kind of margins that she can run this at? Because if we want to look again at where things stand in the state of Nebraska, and so this is, so under the old map, you had Jeff Fortenberry, the convicted now and resigned former Congressman Jeff Fortenberry was in a Republican plus 21 district, so it was 21 points to the right of the nation as a whole. Under districting, this C has now become R plus 17, and so it got about 4 points more blue. Much it's not considered to be by the folks at 538 to be a competitive district as compared to Omaha, which is an R plus 3. Actually, before redistricting, it was an even district, but actually picked up some conservatism, mostly by actually playing into the first district and stealing some Republican voters away. That's part of the reason why the first district, a little bit less liberal, or excuse me, a little bit more liberal. So that is where things currently stand. And so we're looking at, if in the very likely scenario that Patty Pansing Brooks does not win, where, what do the margins look like for her? And so that's really what we're trying to see here. Is this going to be same old, same old? It looked like Kate Boltz might do something. When she ran, that turned out to be not really much of anything. Instead, Kate Boltz kind of got ran out of town. And so, yeah, so we'll see. The hope, again, the competitive side of me that just likes to see, likes to see competition. The sportsman in me loves to see this sort of stuff. It's going to see if it's close, and I want it to be close because it's fun. It's fun when things are more competitive. As far as what will happen if Patty Pansing Brooks wins, it's a bit of a dilemma for the Democratic Party because that seat will be lost in the Nebraska legislature, and she will be able to have her seat appointed by Governor Ricketts. Currently, 17 Democrats are in the Nebraska legislature. That's enough to filibuster, especially with a potential special election coming up on the topic of abortion. And so that's just currently where things sit. And so that's where we are right now. We are currently waiting for more to come in. Particularly, we're looking at the rural areas. This election map you see up here is courtesy of the New York Times. And so we are just waiting for more rural counties to bring in more information. But right now, not a whole lot of new information coming in through all of our sources. But right now, as things stand, 42%. You might start thinking, oh, that's 42% in, and Pansy Brooks in the lead. Like that's a really great sign for Democrats. I would say it's all about whose votes, like which votes are in. These are the more liberal leaning votes that are in. We'll see in 10 minutes. My estimate would be at 9:15. It is anticipated that Lancaster County will do a big dump of all the votes that they have. It would be very, very surprising, honestly. Even if Patty Pansing Brooks expanded her lead, that would be shocking. It's election day votes. It might be her home county, but it's election day votes. So it would be very, very surprising. Just so you know, this race did finally get some mention from the folks at 538, who I immensely respect and who do such an excellent job with modeling and with helping us understand what's going on. Basically repeating everything we've mentioned so far, which is that currently Republicans are making up ground, and Patty Pansing Brooks leads by about 5 points, but most of the outstanding votes are in fairly red counties. We have no new information. Like I said, as far as projections, we do not make independent projections because it's just me, and I am no good at all of that. I see that some of my students are watching. They have nothing better to do. You can watch me talk about politics. It's the one thing I like. But anyway, enjoy your summer, kids. But so anyway, where things currently stand right now, we are still waiting on more votes. Right now, we're waiting for Patty Pansing Brooks. She's sitting at 52.7%. Mike Flood currently at 0.3, waiting for more information to come in. The different sources we're looking at right now, Paul Hamill is a reporter for the Nebraska Examiner, basically reporting that we've seen the gap close to about within 2,500 votes, which is not any new information. We can also see that, that's about all the new information we really have from the reporting out there. There must have been, we believe there may have been a new vote dump. We're going to try to reload and see what happens, because we believe, all right, it does appear that there was a new vote dump, because the race is tightened. There we go. Yes, that's probably along the lines of what we would expect. It doesn't appear to come from Lancaster County. Where did those votes come from? That's the great mystery. It doesn't appear to come from Madison County either, so I'm not entirely sure. Not from Sarpy County. Maybe Dodge County is our likely target here, but we're up to 44%, and now we're at about a 1,600 vote lead, again, which is about to be expected. So we currently, again, have Patty Pansing Brooks narrowly leading, but probably when you, maybe once this race flips in the other direction, maybe we might see some race calls. We're waiting about 5 minutes out. Lancaster County has said that their estimate is to put out some more votes here in about 5 minutes. I think that will be very telling. The vast majority of the votes still coming from Lancaster County. You can see up on the board there, 51,000 total votes reported, coming from Lancaster County. And so we will see if there is anything more out there. Right now, it's just kind of a bit of a waiting game. We are currently waiting to see if there is, especially any of these rural counties, usually rural counties. Oh, I believe there's been a change. Let's see. The Secretary of State's website is now saying that Mike Flood is in the lead. Now, where are those votes coming from? We're waiting to see if the New York Times will update. It is being slow in updating, so it does not know about this yet. 1011 is not yet aware. I'd be curious, and it's by the narrowest of margins too, about 600 votes. Trying to see, Politico currently has the update, so we might just have to wait very closely. So the report you see on the screen of Patty Pansing-Brooks in the lead, that is no longer the case. The most recent report from the Secretary of State's office, now having Mike Flood in the position we expected him to be, he is now in the lead. Oh, good. Now I have more students coming up. Well, you can listen to me talk about politics and listen to me talk about this election that's going on. But yeah, but Mike Flood has currently taken the lead. We'll see. It's taking a while for this New York Times one to update here, and it looks like we have some precincts that have now fully reported, which makes it likely that it's a rural county. We're waiting. There we go. Now we've got a change come in. And it looks like Seward County is the one where we got it. Seward County is now up to 92%. That's where our recent votes just came in. We see Mike Flood just took the lead. It looks like Seward County by about a 730 margin went for Mike Flood, the Republican, over Patty Pansing-Brooks, which is about to be expected. 92%. 50 votes left, and so Mike Flood is currently in the lead. We are now 3 minutes away, waiting for Lancaster County to announce their results. And my guess would be that if you do not see in these Lancaster County results, if you do not see Pansing-Brooks retake the lead, then you could probably about call it over. Because I don't know where else you're going to see, for Pansing-Brooks, I don't know where else you're going to see her gain any votes if it's not going to be from Lancaster County. But right now we're just kind of waiting on that. So the latest, we got the votes in from Seward County. They put Mike Flood, the Republican from Norfolk, in the lead, which is to be expected. Again, it would be a big shock if it were to do anything, if there were to be anything but a victory for the Republican Mike Flood. But we are waiting to see. Pansing-Brooks, the Democrat, was in the lead for a long time, as we had mail-in ballots come in first. Mail-in ballots tend to lean Democrat. Excuse me. So now those are being canceled out by election day votes. We are just waiting to see. We are minutes away from seeing if Mike Flood, if Lancaster County will drop some new results. And the moment they do, we will update our feed. We'll try to see, because that would probably be the big one. If we do not see a big change for Patty Pansing-Brooks, we don't see anything go her way, it would likely be over. You could call this race for Mike Flood, I would think. It looks like maybe a little bit more just came in. Just trying to glance and see. It must have been Butler County on there. You can see greater than 95% of the precincts are in. That's a very rural county. Not a lot of votes out there in Butler County, but a significant margin for Mike Flood. Really, the only one, really, I think we have about every county has something in. Yes, every county has now got something in. But I mean, look at these votes that remain. It's Lancaster where you've got most of the votes remaining. And so it really just, if this race is anywhere close, which it was not projected to be, if this race is close, it's going to come out of Lancaster County. But she's got but Pansing-Brooks has to run it up a little bit. Okay, we do have some new information that dropped. Was that from Lancaster County? I would assume it would be, because the race just put Patty Pansing-Brooks back in the lead. And so you would assume that had to have come from Lancaster County. We're going to keep an eye on. So the Secretary of State's website is currently saying that Patty Pansing-Brooks is in the lead. That had to have come from Lancaster County, because I don't know who who else that would be from. We're just watching carefully, seeing if there's any change there. It's sitting at 48% reporting, so we're just waiting. But yeah, so that's where we're currently sitting at. We're waiting. We're going to keep it on here while we wait for those to come in. Right now, again, according to the Secretary's office, right now, Pansing Brooks is in the lead by less than 1,000 votes. That is a recent change. You can see the New York Times article here says something different. The New York Times article is the New York Times one has been slower. And so we are waiting to find out which county that came from. Where was it that Pansing Brooks was able to retake the lead? You would think it would have to be Lancaster County. It would be very surprising if it came from anywhere else. And also, given the margin, it's also not likely that it's because the margin that she is up by right now is only about 500 votes. It's not going to do it. You can see a lot are still out there from all those rural counties. It's not going to do it for her. So yeah, so we're just waiting to see. We'll check through all the Twitter sources, waiting to see if the New York Times update their page. I guess I could also check really quickly. I'll try to check the unofficial results here on the Lancaster County website. And it does look like their website has a drop on here for some election day ballots. Let's take a look at those and see if that would match the change. It would seem to match the change, so it's very likely that those came out of Lancaster County. The election day ballots actually tilting in favor of Pansing Brooks. Right now, according to the Lancaster County website, we are sitting at 25,000. She's sitting at 25,000 to 15,000 in Lancaster County. And so, yeah, which is also the vast majority of her votes. So it's very likely that's where the vote drop. It's, again, the New York Times has not yet got it up to date on their website. That's likely where the vote drop came from. It was enough to put her back in the lead. Right now, let's see if they have an estimate of how many precincts they have left to go. They still have quite a few precincts actually left to go in Lincoln. This might be closer than we think. So we'll see. I appreciate those students who are watching me. If you are curious, this is kind of a for fun thing I'm doing because sometimes I get questions about elections and stuff like that, and how I know what's going on, what sources I use. So this is just me actually trying this out on a special election that is going on that just applies to the area I'm in. Hope all of your summers are going well. And you get to see me wearing these headphones and you get to see into my apartment. And just for the viewing treat for all of you who are there, here is Jack, the cat that I got that you may have seen on Instagram. And he is quite adorable. So, anyway, there's a treat for the few of you who are watching me. But like I said, still currently waiting. There we go. The New York Times is updated, and they have it updated now that it's Lancaster County. And so we can see the margins there, about the same, 60-40 in favor of Pansing Brooks. She is currently in the lead, albeit very barely. 61% of the state is reporting. Right now, if I were to stay where her standing is, she's actually doing pretty good. She will not win, very likely. But right now, she's probably outperforming what a Democrat would be expected to do in this situation. So is to take any encouragement from that. She is doing a lot better than maybe you would have expected her to do. So that being said, we are now just kind of waiting for the other votes to come in. That was the big dump from Lancaster County. They will have their last big dump theoretically around 10:15. That's what they put on their website. So about 10:15, we expect most of the rest of the Lancaster County votes to come in. As things currently stand right now, we have Patty Pansing Brooks currently in the lead by about, really by about 300 votes. We had another Secretary of State's website showing another group of votes coming in, likely from some rural counties. It's very tight, but it's very likely that it's Mike Flood's day. We're going to take a very short break, but we will come back and we'll take a look at the results that happened. We'll take about a 5-minute break here. All right. So we're back. We are currently just sitting and waiting for new results to come in. The New York Times is, again, surprisingly not terribly updated. The most up-to-date results have about a 300-vote race, with Pansing Brooks in the lead, courtesy of her votes from Lancaster County. But other than that, right now we are currently just waiting for some more votes to come in, particularly from the rural counties. You can see on the board up here, courtesy of the New York Times, where the votes still remain. Almost all of Seward County is in. Almost all Butler County, Polk County, some of the most rural counties are in. And I would say, in my estimation, right now, Pansing Brooks is doing, like, she probably will not win, but she is doing well. She is doing well, all things considered. And so we will see. We'll see if anything changes. It's unlikely, but we'll see if she can continue to do well from here on out, but it's very unlikely. So again, we're sitting at about 9:30 p.m., waiting for the rest of the votes to come in. Most of the remaining ones still sit out in Lancaster County. Will they be enough to keep her in the race? It almost seems like yes. It seems likely, although I'm still waiting on from people who are much smarter at this than I am. But it does seem likely that she will outperform the political lean of the district, which, so that is kind of where we stand right now. And so what we'll just do really quickly. So just what I'm talking about and where things are. So I'm going to flip off of the New York Times one here. Let me really quickly change that. And instead, change over to the state of Nebraska over here. And so, in the last election, where we sat is with a guy by the name of Jeff Ortenberry. He recently, however, was charged and convicted of felony, and so he had to resign. His we call R plus 21, meaning that it was 21 points more Republican than the national average. He won by about that margin, so that was about right. Every 10 years we have a census, and so the redistricting had to happen. So this is the new map. This is the first district right over here. And so you can see it's now R plus 17. It got actually slightly more liberal, as some of the more conservative parts actually got fed into Omaha's district, into the second, which you can see it used to be even. So some of the conservative districts actually got brought in there. And so in the new map, it's R plus 17. And so when you hear me say, is Patty Pansing Brooks, the Democrat, is she going to outperform the party lean of the district? That's more what I am referring to. It looks like the recent update through some more of the rural votes coming in. We do now see Mike Flood has retaken the lead. In particular, Stanton County is now done. Cumming County, Colfax, these are small counties. Polk County is now mostly done. Lots of very small counties. And the margin right now looks like it's about 300 votes again, but this time 300 votes in favor of Mike Flood, which is not a huge margin. And so, I don't know, again, I am waiting on people with more knowledge of this than me to weigh in. People like Dave Wasserman, who works for the Cook Political Report, people from 538. I have not seen anybody really weigh in and tell me one way or another if this is actually of any significance. Is it more contested than it really should be? Should we be making anything of it? It's just kind of a waiting right now. The latest from Paul Hamill, a report for the Omaha World Herald, just kind of talking about what's going on at Pansing Brooks at her party. Basically just saying how ever since the Supreme Court decision on abortion kind of changed things, but not really giving any new substantial information. Same thing with Aaron Bamer, also from the Omaha World Herald. I'm sorry, Paul Hamill from the Nebraska Examiner. He does not work at the Omaha World Herald anymore. But Aaron Bamer basically just saying, just stating the race is, which is what we already know, where Flood is currently ever so slightly in the lead. And then checking with Martha Stoddard, no new information from her. And so, yeah, we're just kind of in a waiting game right now, waiting to see if any new information comes out that significantly tells us what's going to happen next in this election, or in this particular election. So it's kind of a bit of a waiting game right now. Right now we're at about 63% reporting, so we're almost about 2/3 of the way in, and you're kind of waiting for. We did get a bit of an update on the Secretary of State's website. Now the race is about a 1,700 vote lead for Mike Flood. So currently he is at 51%. Patty Pansing Brooks roughly around 49%. 36,743 votes for Flood, around 34,992 for Patty Pansing Brooks. And we will see kinds of updates where exactly those votes came from. Curious about Madison County in particular. Madison County has been shockingly slow at turning in votes, and Madison County is where you would expect Mike Flood to run up the score. Being a guy from Norfolk, you would expect him to do really well. There, and right now we just haven't seen a whole lot from out there. There's nowhere near as many votes in Madison County as there is in Lancaster County, but still, you would think that maybe, just maybe, we'd see something out there. So we'll wait to see when the update makes its way through on the New York Times website. We'll try to see where those votes came from. About 1,000 votes just came in from Mike Flood. We'll try to see when they updated by county at the bottom. There we go. So let's see, where did those votes come in from? Those votes would have probably come in from, from Madison County. We finally see a good chunk finally come in from there. About 3,000 votes came in. So got a good chunk coming in from Madison County there. And it looks like the vote totals there are about to be expected, 82% to 17%. So those were very favorable votes. But still his base of support, and he's got about 5,400 more votes that he's currently sitting on out there, and so we are just sitting and waiting for more results from a lot of these areas, and so right now we are just gonna wait and see if more can come out, if more votes can come in, and we can find out more of what exactly is going on, what the state of the race is right now. But like we said, right now it is 9:38 p.m. Biggest areas we're probably waiting for. Most of the votes still out come from Lancaster County, and around 10:15 p.m. we expect the next round of votes will be dumped out of Lancaster County. And so we are waiting very impatiently, but we are still waiting to see what's going to come out of Lancaster County. Right now, The vast majority of the votes come out of there. 71,000 total votes in this election. 42,000 of them come out of Lancaster County, which is good news if you're Patty Pansing Brooks. But we really are just waiting to see. Right now, it's close. You know, is this going to be a close election? Is this something? I will be totally honest with you. At this point, I did expect that maybe we would have the race called and over with already, but it is not currently called and over with. Currently, we do see Mike Flood in the lead. Excuse me, he's expected to win. It would be surprising if it were any other result, but a win for Mike Flood. But right now, we're just kind of in a waiting game. 64% of the votes are in. And so, yeah, right now it's just a matter of waiting to see when those votes will come in from Lancaster County. When those votes will come in, even from a lot of those rural areas, will Flood build enough of a lead, just based on what we're seeing in Lancaster County? Will he build up enough of a lead to sustain whatever we see come out? The last time he did, he kind of took a bare lead, and then Pansing Brooks kind of took the lead back from him. Just to break down what her results were from the election day votes in Lancaster County. So she, in the first batch that came in, she led that by about 1,200 votes. So that would be, you would expect that may be a similar gap, that she has about a 1,200 vote, and maybe something along those similar percentages. You know, if she's in that ballpark, then she might be in the game. If not, then you can probably not expect for her to wind up winning this thing, which again would be very surprising if she did wind up winning this thing. But for right now, it's where things stand, and right now we are not getting any. There is nothing being picked up by any of the national websites. I have been checking the different Twitter sources. I've been checking with 5 right now. There is no big update. We seem to be fairly significantly far into this, and so far it looks like, I mean, I would say that she is doing well. Does this mean that she will win? No. But given the odds against her, given the makeup of this district, this is pretty good so far. Again, we're just really waiting on a lot of rural votes to come in. You can see over here on the right-hand side, this is a very good barometer here on the right-hand side. 19,000 votes we still think are out there in Lancaster County. There is enough. D5, D5, 3-2 is another 5. And right there is about 19,000. There is just a little bit more out in the rural areas than there is in Lancaster County. And so you would think, given that modeling, that it is very unlikely that there is a path for Pansing Brooks. However, it is also very likely that she will outperform expectations and that she will be a lot closer than a Democrat has been in quite some time. Granted, there are going to be a lot of I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so if she gets close, that would be a huge victory for her. Even though obviously she'd probably actually want to be a congresswoman instead of a very, very close loser. But as things stand right now, we have about 64% of the vote in. Every precinct is at least partially reporting. We do have about, of the 414 precincts in this House race, 60 are now fully reporting. And so we are getting closer. It's those rural, it honestly is those rural areas that will determine a lot of this. If Flood is running up the score pretty big in those rural areas, will be too much for Pansy Brooks to overcome. Right now, she's currently talking to the reporters on 1011. Again, we have not seen any information picked up by any of the channels. So that would make you think that this is likely going in Flood's direction, but again, we have yet to see on that. And so, as things stand over that, we'll take about another 5-minute break over here, and then we will see if there's anything new to report at that point in time. All right. So we are coming back on 9:51 p.m. here in the Central Daylight Time. We are currently sitting, as you can see up here on the board, that at 51%, Mike Flood, the Republican from Norfolk, is leading Patty Pansing-Brooks, the Democrat from Lincoln. 64% of the vote is currently in. Not a whole lot has changed over the course of the break. Just to recap where we are, Patty Pansing-Brooks took the early lead at the beginning of the night, although largely due to mail-in ballots. Right now, she is holding she is leading only one of the counties that are in the first district, but she's leading the biggest county, Lancaster County, which is why she is in the close position that she is. A lot of votes still out there, though. In particular, we're waiting on quite a few rural precincts. Particularly, we are waiting for results up in Madison County and in Dodge County. Yeah, we are waiting for a lot of votes from Cass County. We are waiting for votes from Sarpy County. We believe that we have about half of those votes in. It is also estimated by the New York Times that about 70% of the votes have been recorded from Lancaster County. We are also waiting for votes from Platte County, which is home to Columbus. That being said, we currently sit in a situation where it's about 19,000 votes left in Lancaster County, again, according to modeling from the New York Times, and about 20,000 votes left in the rural areas, which is obviously an advantage for the Republican Mike Flood, since Pansing-Brooks would have to have better margins in Lancaster County than in the rural areas, and that is a tall ask. Because you can see, look at the score that Flood is running up. Not so much in Sarpy County; it's pretty close there. But look at Madison County, which is where he's from. Is from Norfolk, Madison County. Look at Stanton County, 88 to 12%, 83 to 17% in Madison County, 61-39 in Dodge County, which is the home of Fremont. Cass County sitting at 64-36, Seward 69-31. And it just keeps going from there. None of them particularly close. All of them in the 60, 70, 80% range. Only Sarpy County is in any way close. And this is the problem that Democrats have in general when it comes to elections in Nebraska. They can do particularly well in the cities, and to some extent that does well for them, but then it's these rural areas, especially these yawning gaps. It's very hard in Nebraska to just run up the score in the urban areas and then expect that to hold against the rural areas. The rural areas, there's just enough votes out there for Republicans to do well there. And right now we seem to be seeing that from Mike Flood. But again, the story tonight is not whether or not, I mean, on some level it is. It's a story of whether Patty Pansing-Brooks or Mike Flood will become next congressperson from District 1 here in Nebraska, which was held by Jeff Fortenberry for a good number of years before his indictment and then conviction on campaign-related charges. And instead, it's honestly probably more about the margins. Can she keep it close? Can she make this a race? This is, as previously mentioned, a Republican plus 17 seats to the right of the nation. Right now, she is losing by about 3 points. This is about an R+3 win. This would be a very significant move to the left for this county, for this district, but we are a long ways away. We're probably about 20 minutes. In about 20 minutes, we expect that the final Lancaster County votes will be posted. I would expect at that point in time, when the final Lancaster County votes are posted, you could just about make a projection one way or the other. And in fact, we now have the source that I use is the Associated Press, and so you will not see graphics coming up yet. But just as a matter of fact, we do now have a projection from the folks at Decision Desk HQ, and they are usually pretty reliable on this stuff. They do a good job usually of getting the jump on a lot of these things. They have projected that Mike Flood has won the special election. That is the first I have seen from any national source. Again, that's probably a reasonable, from what we are seeing right now, that is probably a reasonable expectation of where this is going. I have no knowledge of how the modeling works, but I would say that if it were me, I would want the Lancaster County votes to come in. It's unlikely, very unlikely, that they would give Pansing Brooks the numbers she would need. Again, she would need to run up the score really big in Lancaster County, and she's just not doing that right now. And she's just, just absolutely getting slaughtered in the rural areas. And the only county outside of Lancaster where she has strength is Sarpy County, but she's losing that county barely, which is about par for the course. Democrats have been making inroads in Sarpy County. That's not going to be good enough for winning. You almost have to, if you want to win this district, you almost have to win both Lancaster County and Sarpy County. And she is not right now probably going to win Sarpy County. She will win Lancaster County, and that is a major improvement for the Democratic Party. If memory serves correctly, Kate Bolts did not win Lancaster County, and granted, she got slaughtered in her election against Jeff Fortenberry the last time he ran. So it's a big thing for her that she has one. I'm just double checking my sources here just to make sure I'm not. Oh, I'm sorry. I have been saying that wrong. Kate Bolts did in fact win Lancaster County. Granted, she only won Lancaster County by about 800 votes. In the last general election that these two were in. But as you can see right now, by comparison, she is winning Lancaster County. Yes, it's probably it's also about 8,000 votes, but the percentage is so much more different. We were in the 70,000s for the number for both the Democrat and the Republican had. We're down in a much lower. This is a much bigger margin. Pansing Brooks is doing much better in Lancaster County than Kate Bolts did. I do apologize if anybody who works for Kate Bolts or Kate Bolts herself has been watching this stream, which is unlikely. The only people who've been watching it have been my Wilbur Claytonia students. She did win Lancaster County the last time that this seat was up for election. That was the only seat she won, and she won it barely. Right now, Pansing Brooks is handily winning Lancaster County. And this does indicate a shift to the left as we are coming up close here to about the 10 o'clock hour. It's about 10:15 is when we expect Lancaster County to give its final dump of votes. Again, right now, we do not currently have any projections aside from the Decision Desk one, but we do not have any from the Associated Press. And so we are waiting patiently to see if there will be any final projections. Although I will say if Decision Desk has made its decision, it is likely that it will not be too long before others follow suit. Just because in my experience, Decision Desk is usually about, I would say it's probably usually about 15 minutes ahead of the Associated Press. This is not, like I said, this has not really been picked up. This race has not really been picked up by any national outlets. It was kind of considered a sleepy race. The Nebraska Examiner, in fact, did an article about until Roe v. Wade was overturned, how there really wasn't much to this race. And again, their word was, in fact, that it was sleepy. But the results we are seeing so far, if these hold, and we do have some more votes that in, the gap has, in fact, narrowed. I would be curious. I'm sorry, the gap did not narrow. No, I'm sorry. The gap did not narrow, and in fact, the gap has now expanded to about 3,000 votes even. And so it's likely more rural votes came in, so that New York Times shot you see there is a little bit out of date. Let's just see if we do a check and if it'll update. It does not. But so that is not up to date. The gap has widened just a little bit. About 100 more votes just came in for Mike Flood. Or I'm sorry, I'm way off here. About 3,300 votes just came in for Mike Flood, and then a little bit under that came in for Patty Pansing Brooks, which almost would seem to indicate. And the Nebraska Secretary of State's website has this. You just have to dig around a little bit. So just let the New York Times do the work for me. But you almost think it might have had to come to Sarpy County. We'll see when the votes get updated here. Where exactly? Here we go. And it was indeed Sarpy County as well as Dodge County, where these votes came out of. So here we go. A good prediction on my part. Madison County is really not reported yet. There's a lot of flood votes still out there. And so given where things are at now, so we said about a 3,000 vote lead. So like we said, we're about 13 minutes away from a big drop of votes from Lancaster County. And so given that, we're about a 3,000 vote lead from Mike Flood right now. 19,000 votes in Lancaster County. The remaining votes out there, we are sitting at about, to do a very quick back of the napkin math, we have about 7,000 votes from Sarpy, Dodge, and Madison. Then you have another 3,000, so that's 10,000 votes out there. And so about 14,100 votes with 19,000 votes in Lancaster County. So now the Lancaster County outstanding votes outweigh the remaining votes. Again, it's a very unlikely situation. And the decision desk HQ people are very good. And so I will not question their methods at all because they are good. But right now we are just waiting. Right now on 10/11, Mike Flood is currently being interviewed. I'm not sure if this was a pre-recorded interview. It seems likely that this was a pre-recorded interview. Yes, so yes, it was. And so we are currently just waiting on results, particularly that Lancaster County vote dump. I think that will, if I were to take a guess, that would be the one that will really show where this race is at. Right now, it sounds like the primary parties, or the election parties at both, are actually kind of at both the Republican and Democratic camps are actually kind of shrinking. It's the late hour of 10 o'clock. Apparently, people need to go to bed. Which, if this race is called, the moment this race is called, will give ever so slight analysis, but then we will also be done. So, again, my guess is, if I were to take a guess, around 10:15 is when likely that call will come from the Associated Press. Again, I haven't really seen anything from David Wasserman either. He would be the one, if this was staying close, he would be the one that you would want to watch, but I'm not seeing anything from him. He is a House specialist, and he has not really given any report. Nothing again picked up from 538. A lot of the major news sites are off of it. Yeah, and just watching over where 10/11 is right now. They are just kind of running through their reporting. Nothing too new. There appears to have been a bit of a malfunction on the Secretary of State's website. Now it's been fixed. Never mind. The number of persons voting vanished for a little bit. And so we're at 05 right now. We are about 10 minutes away, honestly, just kind of awaiting to see that drop, because we expect that will probably decide the race. We'll take one last 5-minute break here, and then we'll probably have our final bit of information for the night on where the race stands. All right, and so we have come back to it. As you may have seen, there was an update over the break. It looks like some votes from Dodge County, home of Fremont, and Dodge, Nebraska. Shout out to the little town of Dodge, Nebraska, but also came in. And so that only pushed the lead to about 4,000 votes for Mike Flood. It's not like it's close, but it's not close really. Getting a little bit out of hand. It's seeming likely, even more so now that Mike Flood is getting the results he needs. 65-35 is the percentage in Dodge County. It's not terrible for Patty Pansing-Brooks, maybe about par for the course for what a Democrat can expect there. I think, and there have been no race calls. The only update we got was 538 did acknowledge and just basically has said what we've been saying all along, that there are some votes still out there, but it's probably not likely that it will put Pansing-Brooks over the top. I think we are all, the Associated Press has not made a call. We're still right now just sitting on that decision desk. Decision desk headquarters did make a call at 9:55 Central Daylight Time. We have not seen any call from the Associated Press yet, but it is very likely that Mike Flood has this. It's also very likely that the Associated Press and a number of other agencies are simply waiting on what is about to occur in roughly 4 minutes here, where we expect a vote dump from Lancaster County. It probably will be all of the remaining votes, the remaining 30% that have not yet been reported, which is significant. With, again, you can see on the New York Times estimate there, about 19,000 votes are estimated to still be out in this election. The precincts reporting, we are getting closer and closer to that full. Oh, and we just had a big, I think we just had a big dump of votes. That doesn't seem, so we not a big dump of votes. It must have been a lot of rural areas have just now, let's take a look. No, it was Lancaster County that came in. That should do it. We're about 95% reported. I don't know what the Associated Press is waiting for at this point. Because there we go. The big dump came in. Lancaster County votes. It looks like they may have to do one last batch of results. It looks like they still have some outstanding districts, but Flood cut into her lead there. and it looks like some other votes. And so Flood actually made gains off that last one. There's nothing left. I am very much surprised that we have not seen a race call yet from the Associated Press. I just do not see. I don't see the path to victory. I'm wrong, but I do not see. I do not see a path to victory here for Patty Pansing Brooks. That really did. It cut into the lead. It was a very, I mean, it's election day votes. Yeah, I don't know. We're just waiting. We'll see if. Still haven't seen anything yet. I don't know. It's interesting that we have not yet had anything come in from the New York, or excuse me, from the Associated Press. The New York Times has not called it. We're at 93% reporting. I just don't know where those votes are at. Like, if you're doing modeling, where do you see those votes at? I don't know. That was a particularly big vote dump in favor, to be honest, in favor of Mike Flood. He's currently sitting at about 5 points. He will likely expand that lead a little bit. It is, so the takeaways from the night, if we don't get a call here pretty soon, and I don't get to show off my quote graphic, I think I will just give some summaries for what we see tonight. It is a Republican victory and a Republican stronghold, and Mike Flood will go to Congress, it seems. Again, we still do not have anything from the Associated Press. The New York Times has also not reported that. In fact, we saw it go backwards on the amount reported in, which is very unusual. And in fact, gave Pansing Brooks a bit more of a lead. But again, not sure where they're seeing a path for her. But so we're in about the 4% range, with a fair amount of votes still out there, but not a ton of vote. This does seem like it's going to be a bit of a loss and a win for the Democrats here. A loss in the actual seat. Pansing Brooks, of course, is probably going to wind up somewhere around 46 to 47%. She will have won Lancaster County by a much more significant margin than Kate Bowles did. She does not win Sarpy. She keeps it competitive. There's a lot of votes still out there from Madison County, and that's going to really run up the score. But I think you can definitely, if you are Pansing Brooks and you look to the fall, it's tricky. What do you take from special elections? What you do see is a big Democratic strength here, or at least a gain from where they were. Fortenberry won this race on a different district, but he won this race at it was a plus 22. He won it at 23 points. Pansing Brooks is going to lose it by about probably most conservative estimate. She'll lose it at about 6 points. Maybe the worst. At worst, she loses it by about 10 points. She is going to definitely beat the partisan lean quite considerably. And so if you are a Democrat in the first, you take that as encouraging news, and particularly those Sarpy County numbers, I think you take as encouraging, because that part of Sarpy County, now granted, that part of Sarpy County is a little bit more liberal than the rest of Sarpy counties. It's somewhat intentionally put in there to prevent the second district from going blue. But I think you take away. I think you take away some good things tonight, even though you aren't going to win this race. I just don't see it. You aren't going to win this race. It's just a matter of time before the final projections come in. And so we are just kind of sitting out here right now, just waiting for the check mark to show up. Is more or less where we are. but none of the major news sites have called it yet. The only one who called it was Decision Desk HQ, and their reporting and their projections are usually pretty spot on. They are definitely a very reliable source. But the policy we made here was to follow the Associated Press. The Associated Press has not called it, and neither has the New York Times. Whoever, maybe they follow the Associated Press, maybe they follow Elias. A lot of the priests are in. A lot of Lancaster County precincts came in. I just don't know. Where you see the possibility of Pansy Brooks even being competitive. I'm just not seeing it. I'm kind of confused why we do not yet have a call in this race from the Associated Press. We can do one really quick check, maybe see where the votes are left. That only makes me more. You got lots of votes in Platte County and Madison County that have not gotten in yet. It's hard for me to believe. Yeah, hard for me to believe that there's a path for Pansy Brooks here. She's done very well. Better, honestly, than maybe one would have expected. It's a special election. That's always going to make things a little wonky. Just kind of surprised we have not yet gotten a call from the Associated Press, because it would appear to me that it's all over. Yeah, it's all over, but but the crying. It just, I don't know. Don't know. It looks like Mike Flood is expected to speak soon at his rally. According to the Lancaster County Commissioner's Office, Election Commissioner's Office, about 1,400 early vote ballots and 750 provisional ballots remain to be counted. That would skew more liberal, except the provisionals. Provisionals are anyone's game. And so she probably will expand the vote in Lancaster County, but even saying that she's got 3,500 is saying way too much. It will probably skew in her direction. Just don't see where the votes are, and still very surprised that there's not a call. Which I'm sad about. I really wanted to use my call graphic, but that's it. That's okay. But yes, so as things stand, it looks like Mike Flood has won the election. He is sitting at 92% reporting. Seems to have a path. I don't see where the path is for Pansy Brooks, unless I'm missing something. I don't see where the path is, and so unfortunately, we don't get to use. I'm more or less just stalling, seeing if we could use the graphic, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be an option. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. It's very likely that we don't get to see the graphic used, and instead we're just we are. It's very likely. I say a greater than 99% chance that Mike Flood has won. But Pansy Brooks has done really well. All things considered for the demographics and where we are in Nebraska, this is maybe about as well as she could have expected. Perhaps it will be encouragement heading into the November general, but it does now that the next congressman from District 1 will be Mike Flood. Right now, voter turnout is in Lancaster County somewhere around 35%. We'll get updated totals later on what the overall turnout is looking like, but it does seem like somewhere in the 25% range is where turnout was. And so you always wonder, what impact does that have on the overall race? It's what makes special elections so strange. It might actually make it harder for Pansy Brooks come November. She may have felt that this was the better opportunity. Tough to say. But we are going to call it a night here. It seems likely that Patty Pansy Brooks has lost, Mike Flood has won, and the former Speaker of the Legislature from Norfolk, the current state senator, owner of Channel, Nebraska, he will become the next congressman from this District 1. And so with that, we will sign off for the night.